So, firstly, in order for there to be an employment relationship, definitely it's good to have a contract in place, but sometimes it happens that a contract is not signed yet, but the terms have been agreed to. So an employment relationship has already begun. It is there. But if there's a contract, the most important thing that a person should look at, if as a lawyer, I'll go to Section 29 of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, which stipulates the general terms that have to be in an employment contract. Firstly, obviously, you need to look at your details as the employee and the employer's details, place of employment. And you also need to look at the job title and the job description. What will you be required to do? The times, when are you required to do the work that you are employed to do? And also look at the deductions from your salary. Salary is one of the issues that we come across as a problem when it comes to employment relationships. But make sure that you look at those things and don't sign a contract or enter into a contract that you are not satisfied with, because it becomes very difficult to renegotiate the contract once you've signed it, or to change the terms and conditions of that contract. But the most important thing is the job description. What is required of you?
So I want to pick up on two things here. Is the job description and what you're actually doing later on in the job, and then kind of can you renegotiate the contract. So let's start with the renegotiation of contract. As an employee, after you sign this, let's say, a horrible contract, is there in law a way for you to renegotiate your contract?
So, in terms of the law of contract, it's very difficult to vary the terms of a contract that's already entered into, because the big question is, were you induced into entering into the contract? And in most cases, the answer is no. So it's very difficult to renegotiate an employment contract. That's why I always advise people to first seek assistance if necessary before they enter into a contract. So the answer is, if both parties to the contract are willing or are of the same mind and want to renegotiate the contract, then that's fine. But if one party is not willing to do that, it's really difficult. And that would result in the employment, for example, because one will not be happy. The employment will have to come to an end. And perhaps at a later stage, a new contract will have to be entered into, and that's a new employment relationship coming into place.
So let's say I'm entering in this contract and someone told me I must do X.
Yes.
So it started off by doing X, but then they added Z, and then they added A. So on the contract description is like, I'm only supposed to do X, but the responsibilities month, quarter after quarter, year after year, just keep growing and growing. And I think that's a lot of frustration for people, because you don't know how to deal with that situation. So from a legal perspective, how do an employee that is trapped in a type of relationship like this, what options is open for them in a situation like that?
Okay, so firstly, I would not say that they are trapped, because when they enter into the contract, they can terminate the contract, obviously, with following the terms of that contract, with a notice period being served, etc. But the important thing is that when the job changes, there needs to be a discussion between the employer and the employee. So when the employee notices that the work that they are required to do is changing, then they need to start a discussion, a conversation with the employer, and ask questions as to, for example, they will say, I see that my job description is A, B, C, D, and now X, Y, Z is being added. Can you sit down and talk about that? And then obviously that will also include a discussion about the salary, or also the working times, the capacity, because in such instances, it would be an addition of work on top of more work that's already in existence. So the employer and the employee will have to look at the capacity of the employee to continue doing the work and take on further work. So my advice would be for there to be a discussion between the employer and the employee. And if the employer is not willing to have that conversation with the employee, then that's the terms of contract being varied, and the employee will have the right of recourse to go to the CCMA or the bargaining council and lodge an unfair labor practice dispute, because the employer will have now varied the terms of the contract at that point in time.